Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the like button on this video as well as all our other videos. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Big Red Zone. And as always, tell a friend. This week, we have a very special guest, a Theriault, friend of the pod and fantasy football, dominating fantasy football in our league. We're going to talk about this past week in the NFL, but we're mainly going to talk about MLB free agency. Sad news, Xander Bogaerts will no longer be a Red Sox. He'll be for the Padres. So we'll break down that as well as some other big free agent signings and who else is still out there. All that and more in this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. Today, we are joined by Andy Theriault.
Big Red, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing well. It's great to be back on the pod. It's been a hot minute.
I know a lot of the guys that have come on the pod, we've said the same thing. It's like it feels longer than it really had. Like it feels longer than it. Like it doesn't feel as long as it has been because we had the draft videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like Dave said when Griff came on, he's like, I don't think I've been on in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is that true?
I think it was the same for me. I think it was like late 2020, like the fall of 2020, which, yeah, it's crazy. But I think since 2020, everything's like time is just a flat circle.
Yeah, it really is all blended together. I was doing stuff at the school today, and we were talking about like basketball seasons or it was something for sports, and I was like, I can't believe that was 2 years ago. Like it feels like not too long ago. And then I looked at even like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and I was like, wow, that feels like it just. Some of it feels like it just happened, and the other part of it feels like it was like years ago.
Yeah.
So it's weird how time has been over the last couple of years. But so the last time we saw you, you were now a dad.
My dad, yeah. I think when I was on, we might have just broke. I don't know if we broke the news on the pod or not, but yeah, it was right around the last time I was on. We found out we were gonna become a dad here, and it ended up twins. 18-month-old twin girls. So I got my hands full, man. I've got two sets of college and 2 weddings to plan for. So I'm breaking my back here. It's been great though, dude. It's been fun. It's a new challenge, and it's been a lot of fun, and definitely learn some stuff about yourself and how to prioritize a little bit differently. But it's been great, man. It's been a lot of fun.
And also, you were on the move for coaching wise too. You're now where are you at now? You're at, Gordon.
I'm at Gordon College. Yeah. So actually, the last time I was on the pod, I was still at Plymouth State, and then this past spring of 22, I accepted a position at St. Joseph's College over in Maine. Really, really strong Division III baseball program here in New England, and they had actually had 3 of their assistant coaches leave, 2 of them for head coaching jobs elsewhere, and one of the other assistants went to be the lead assistant with one of those new head coaches. So they had an opening on their staff to be the hitting guy. The head coach there is a legend. He's been there for I think this is going to like year 32 or 33 for him. He's got like 800 wins. It was a really, really good opportunity for me, and we had a terrific season, won 31 games. We lost in the conference championship. We were 1 game away from going to the NCAA tournament. I had every intention of going back, and then I got a really, really sweet offer from Gordon College to hop on staff there, and it was completely unexpected. I committed to going back to St. Joe's, and the Gordon offer came in, and it was just too good of an offer to pass up. And I'm really grateful to Coach Sanborn at St. Joseph's. He was like, if you don't take that job, you're a dummy. So he kind of gave me the final push because I really didn't want to leave. I in just 1 short year built a ton of good relationships with the coaching staff there and the players. Man, I love the players there. They were great. But Gordon's great. We're taking over a situation where there's a ton of room for growth, and it's a program that hasn't been great traditionally, but we showed up not sure what to expect, and there's a lot of talent in our locker room. Actually, we think we're gonna surprise some teams this year. Been super active in the transfer portal, which is, I know, a big hot topic in big time Division I sports right now, but we've added some impact players, and I think we're going to surprise some teams this spring, and we're recruiting our tails off, and really looking forward to trying to build a program from the ground up.
You throw offering that NIL money around,
Phew,
Andy?
that I don't. You know what? That's going to be coming to Division Three. I mean, we
Yeah.
theoretically can. And it's funny. It was something that we talked about this fall. Is there a way that we could do something? Whether it's here in Massachusetts, locally, you have companies like All Star, who makes the top of the line catcher's gear that you see almost all the major leaguers wear. They're based in Massachusetts. Franklin, who's like the number one batting glove on the market, based in Massachusetts. So we jokingly said something, and then we started scratching our heads, and we're like, hey, like maybe this is something we could do. So you never
Yeah.
know, man. The NIL and the transfer portal have just completely changed college athletics here in the last 4 to 5 years. And some people say not for the better of athletics, but I think it's great. Let these kids that are spending so much time, trying to make that jump from high school to college athletics, whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3, they're committing a ton of time. So let's let them get a little bit of a nugget there. So who knows? Maybe down the road we'll have a little NIL action here in Gordon College.
And he's gonna be going down there throwing the check on the old what's that movie? You ever see Chips or
Oh
Blue
yeah,
Chips or something like
Blue
that?
Chips.
He's gonna be
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Nick Nolte. He's gonna
Yeah,
throw
that's
the
right.
the bag of money on the table.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's awesome. I know we haven't seen each other in a long time, and then you actually mentioned you were in the area of Brockton Rocks back in the
Yep.
over the summer, and you came by for the little the backstage tour. Got to
Yeah.
see all
Yeah.
the new
Yeah. We're
renovations.
down there recruiting, and yeah, I hadn't seen you I think in a couple of years in person, so I just glad it was able to work out. I miss a lot of the people there in Brockton, and for me that was 4 really good years with a lot of good people. I think that was what you miss the most. Anytime people you hear athletes talk about retiring, and it's yeah, you miss competition, but it's like you go to work every day with someone for 4 years, and you miss those relationships. So it was good. I was glad I was able to pop in and see you. And looks like you grew another 2 or 3 inches. You're up to 7'6" now. So yeah, it's good.
I think you got a little nicer in the becoming a dad too.
Dude, I know.
Didn't hit me with a jab the first 5 minutes I saw you too.
I know, dude. I've had to two major changes. I've cut down my language quite a bit. Every once in a while, one will slip out. The dog was doing something dumb the other day, and I dropped a 4-letter F word, and right away my daughter said it, and I was like, gosh, darn. So I've gotten better about that, and my dad jokes have been pretty good lately. You want a dad joke for the pod, Steve-O?
You can have
I'll
an
give you a
Andy
little bit of
dad
it's
joke.
a little bit of an aggressive dad joke, but why did the
Oh,
squirrel
geez.
swim on its back?
Why?
Keep his nuts dry.
There it is.
Yeah,
Andy's
there
always
it
got
is.
good jokes.
You always got to have
Um,
jokes. So yeah, the dad jokes and the language have been the two biggest changes for me, Steve-O.
Hey, I'm very happy for you. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I'm sure you're able to get it all out when you're on the field too. When you're coaching, you're able to
Oh
get all
yeah.
your you hang. I know you keep it probably tight at home, but then you just let it
Yeah.
all hang loose
Yeah.
on the
Oh
field.
yeah. Yeah. It's that's definitely a good outlet for sure, because I need it with all the ladies in the house now. I've got to really button it up.
But it's good to have you back finally. Final season. Sad to see the pod end it coming to an end.
Yeah, no, I knew for sure I had to get on. I couldn't let you get through the last season without me. I'm not sure where I'm going to go for my sports fix here now on Apple Pods. I'm gonna have to fall into one of those ESPN podcasts or something.
You know what? There's always the back catalog, Andy. You can always
That's right.
re-listen. There's some. You know, it's funny. You look at like some of like we look at in like the different apps. Like we use Anchor to like put all our pod out to like the different outlets, and it breaks down all like the different stats and stuff. And there's people that still listen to episode one, like episode
Really?
one still growing, and that was like it's just funny. Like let me see.
What was that?
Let me
18
see
or
the
19? How long ago was that?
I think it was 2019. Let me
Okay,
pull
so
down, but it was 20 September 17th, 2019. Yeah, there's more views than more listens because it wasn't views, but it was like week two in the NFL recap week two. It was like stuff from week two of 2019, and
what a time
uh,
to be alive, Steve-O. The Sox were still defending World Series champions. Mookie was a Sox. Tom Brady was still slinging touchdowns coming off another Super Bowl for the Pats. Look how
Yeah.
far we've fallen, Steve-O. It's
Oh
a
my
good time
good.
to end it. You should have
It
ended
was
it
a
right
good.
there. You should have ended it
I
after
should.
one
When
episode.
Brady left, when Brady
Yeah.
left, I actually, it was a famous. Actually, the Tom Brady call I made. I said Tom Brady's going to the Bucks.
Yeah.
And after I said that on the podcast, the world went to like crazy. He left.
Yeah.
Then the next week we were on the pandemic hit. We were on Zoom. It was our last in-person podcast when I said that. And I mean, I wish I didn't say it. The world came to
I
an
know.
end after I
I,
mentioned.
now that I spoke that into existence, we might have a Boston sports curse that coincides with the start of Big Red
I
Zone.
think I think
We
we
haven't
may.
won.
I have to get out.
We
We
had
haven't
two
won a
defending
championship.
champions. We had a World Series defending champ and a Super Bowl defending champ. We can't win anything now, Big Red. Come on, man.
We've lost the entire starting, the whole team from what was it, 2018.
Yeah.
We lost Tom Brady,
Uh,
Julian Edelman retired, Gronk retired, Bill's about to leave. It's like we got the whole thing is just completely collapsed. But on good news is we did make it to the NBA Finals. We may
True.
be able to end this run with a nice NBA Finals
I
victory
think so.
this year.
We might get another cup too. You never know. The bees have been hot.
Yeah, the bees have been hot. I think the one thing I will say, I don't think the bees have been that hot in this tenure of the podcast, but that was before it started, and it will hopefully we'll end it with a little bit of a bang. So even the Revs choked in our maybe we're bad luck, Andy. We got to end this soon.
Yeah. We need. I mean, God, what are we? We're in a 4-year title drought. It's like my kids have never seen a championship. What is going on?
I know. Usually we have one by now. 18 months. I think we should have had a championship by now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'll be able to see one for the at least between the Celtics and the Bruins. They should be able to get one.
Yeah, you got to feel good about both of those teams right now. They both have such good nucleus of guys. It just seems like they're built to last for at least the next 3 to 4 years.
At least the Celtics have a GM that wants to spend money in retaining players. They want to retain the players that they drafted and guys that are core players to this team. It's nice to see. I think I'll say before we get into the things, before we get into football, I don't think it's too crazy to say Brad Stevens is the best GM in Boston sports right now. He's the greatest GM in Boston sports.
I mean, it's crazy. The guy was such a good college coach and stepped right in with that. I love that 14-15 Celtics team, but what a ragtag group of guys. He showed that he's a great coach, and obviously, like, he has a good basketball mind, but his ability to manipulate the roster and work the salary cap, it's impressive, man. It's hard to make that jump and be that successful. He's undoubtedly the best GM in New England right now. He's awesome.
And I mean, he's my pick to win Executive of the Year going into this season. And but like you said, the way he's able to manipulate the numbers, but not only that, I think the thing that what made Danny so great and what made Danny so terrible as a GM was he wanted to absolutely win a trade, no matter what it was. He wanted to say, "I'm getting this much more over you." I want to get the better deal, and I want to give as less to you as I can. Brad, from the first moment he took over as GM, just said, "I'm willing to lose a trade if it makes the team better. In the long run, if it makes us better, great. If I may lose it now, fine. Or if it's even if it's like close, you can make an argument," which has kind of led to us getting guys like, getting Al back or getting Brogdon. I mean, Brogdon was a steal of a trade.
Yeah.
But
that might go down as one of the better trades in the last 4 or 5 years. And you take a high level starting backcourt, really he's a combo guard. He can run the point, can play off the ball, defends well, and it's like you get that guy for what you got. I mean, it's like that's a win.
Yeah, a guy that like Aaron Naismith was a nice young piece, but he wasn't going to play on our team. He wasn't. He wasn't.
Same thing with Romeo.
Player. Romeo too. He's not an impact player. It's like he's a nice young piece that may develop, but it's like a risk. Go get the guy that's going to make a difference this year. Right. And I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, you almost wonder how much of that was like Brad being the coach when those guys were young players. I mean, he's with them every day in practice, and he can identify. And Danny, obviously, Danny was a high level player. He coached as well, but like when Brad's with that current group every day, he sees. He might see practice habits or see something in Romeo's game where he's like, you know what, he's not going to flourish here. Because I think Romeo I was always really high on Romeo. I thought he had a chance to be a decent guy, decent guard, a little bit of
Yeah.
a swingman, 2-3 guy. But I mean, what a smart move to get Brogdon.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable move. And the other thing I think he realized, I think you're right, coaching the team and going right into coaching the being the president of the team, you see what works, and especially working with. He got to work with Jason. He got to work with Jalen. I think he made the smartest call, which every GM should do, is who do your superstars want to play with?
Right.
And they wanted to play with Al. They loved Al, especially Jason Tatum, trying to convince him to stay.
Yeah.
He loves Al. Bring Al back. They want
Yep.
to dump contracts. Fine. And he's a veteran presence. I think that was something he learned. They needed more veteran leadership.
Right.
And that's why I love the move for Al last year. I love the move for Brogdon this year because Brogdon's a pretty much a veteran at this point in his
Yep.
career. He's still solid. He's still like kind of in the meat of his career, but he's a veteran. And I think Blake is an underrated
Yeah.
signing for them. It's like he's a veteran guy that's been in the league. He's not going to play a lot, but just his impact in the locker room. And also, I mean, his role in the team is perfect. Al doesn't have to play back to backs. He plays only
Yeah.
when Al plays
Yeah.
back to backs. And that's the
Yep.
only time he plays. And he's still able to produce. It saves his knees and his legs. And you also have a veteran leadership in the locker room. And they
Yeah.
haven't even got Rob back. It's like Rob's
Right.
coming back.
That's the thing. I think that Blake, like you hit on, was Blake. I think that was I was so unsure when they first made it. I was like, oh, I mean, great, but I was very hesitant. And then you started to see how they were going to utilize him, and you see how much the guys love him. And for me,
Yeah,
like the last thing they just what he's been the last couple of years, where he's trying to become more of a 3-point shooter because that's where the NBA is going.
right.
And to see how he's kind of embraced his role, like you said, he literally doesn't play unless it's the second night of a back to back, and he goes
Yeah,
out and he gives you 18 to 24 good minutes, and it's like, all right, like that's a great move at the veteran minimum.
right. And that's how you win championships. You have
Yeah,
guys that fill like in the '08 team, you had like a couple guys that just filled that role. Like Eddie House was that 3-point shooter in the corner. And he played limited minutes. You had Posey. You
PJ
had
Brown was a big one.
PJ Brown at the I was trying
Yeah,
to think of his name. He was signed after the All-Star break
yeah,
and
yeah.
he
I
was
think he was
off
one
the
of those.
street.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, just like one of those veterans that wasn't playing. And I actually remember I went to I can't remember what game it was now, but I went to one of the games against the Cavs, and yeah, PJ he probably played like 12 or 14 minutes, but he made like 4 or 5 like high level impact plays, and you're like you said, you don't
Right,
win a championship without those plays that
right.
veterans can make. So I think that's why Blake is going to just turn out to be a great steal for them.
But let's get into it. Let's get into football this week. We're gonna start with our segment weekend recap.
It's the weekend recap.
So for weekend recap, we picked 3 games from the NFL past weekend. We usually pick the Patriots game, but the Patriots are actually playing right now. Andy was watching it and saw Kyler look like he tore his ACL, which is not really too great to see. Big final week in fantasy football though. So Kyler, I need Kyler to do nothing, which he now looks like he will, and I hate to say it, Ramondre to kind of get stifled. But you know what? Hopefully the Patriots win. Patriots win first, and that's all it takes. But let's start with the Rams Raiders game. Thursday night football. Baker Mayfield is claimed off waivers 2 days before Thursday night football, is announced the starter, and leads one of the best comeback drives of the season.
Yeah,
It was quite impressive, and I think what made it more impressive to me was, I mean, this guy literally learned the playbook in 2 days, less than 48 hours. He learned the
yeah,
playbook, and it wasn't perfect. The game wasn't perfect by any means, but I mean, what do you expect him to do in 2 days' notice? But my Baker stock never gave up on him. We talked about it last week. I hated to see him get cut, and I mean, I was looking a little questionable for sticking with him, but Danny Football and I are big Baker guys, so it was nice to see him succeed in his first game in LA.
yeah. Agreed. I think man, is Carolina the place where quarterbacks go to die? It's like, I mean,
It's
obviously,
sad.
obviously, Sammy Darnold wasn't great with the Jets either, but like that guy's talented. I mean, like, I just don't get how they put Baker in the position they did in Carolina. But I mean, like you said, good for him. Like he went into a tough situation as the 1-1 going to Cleveland in a place that had never won and so underappreciated there. I mean, that place has been
Yeah.
purgatory for quarterbacks as we talk about where quarterbacks go to die for like 20 plus years. They finally get a guy who embraces Cleveland, takes them to the playoffs, and then they run him out of town, and great for him. I mean, what an awesome moment for him to show up there in probably closer to 36 hours, more than 48, and get that
Yeah.
offense at least to the point where he can manage the game for them. And honestly, like in a situation like that, I think sometimes the 2-minute drill is a little bit easier because there's less thinking. It's just, here's the play, let's go. So good for him. And man, the Raiders just cannot get out of their way.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm looking at the Rams. The Rams aren't any better of a team than the Panthers. Like they're
Right.
struggling with injuries. Cam Akers isn't the guy that we thought he was. At least it seems like he hasn't been the same since his injury. They're missing key guys like Cup. I mean, they're struggling too, but Baker finds a way to win. The defense, they have a good defense, relies on it. And like you said, the Raiders, I mean, I have it in my notes here. I was saying Josh, and everything I've heard is Josh is going to get more than a year. They're going to give him the second year too and let him get a chance. If anything, they're going to move on from Carr before Josh. That may change in the next 5 games if they keep blowing leads, because this is the fourth time they blew like a double-digit lead in the second half.
Yeah, and some of their losses
bad.
too. It's like you lose to the Colts when they hire Jeff Saturday 5 days before the game. Like that's the thing too, is like some of the losses just like so inexcusable. Like, how are you doing this? How are you pulling this off? So yeah, I don't know, man. I think this is I would have to imagine this is going to be the end of, I mean, I know Bill probably doesn't have a lot of years left, but this is going to be the end of like poaching coordinators from New England. Like, it's just not working out anywhere. Like, it didn't work out with Romeo Crennel years ago. It didn't work out with Charlie Weiss years ago. It didn't work out with Daniels years ago, and he's gotten another chance and it hasn't worked out. Matty P obviously didn't work out in Detroit, and he's clearly not an offensive coordinator either. But it's just like you go down the list, and it's like, how many of Bill's coordinators have gone elsewhere and had success outside really of Flores, and that was a dumpster fire in Miami. But there's just like, you got to figure like you can't keep poaching Bill's assistants because none of them work out.
Yeah, I mean, I was when you were saying that, I think the only one I could think of had success was Flores, and he just too bad went to a team that wanted to lose. Like team, he was so good of a coach that they kept winning, and that's why they wanted him out of there. So it's like, and he didn't get to pick his quarterback. That was part of the problem. Like, I don't think he wanted to. He went to a bad situation more than he's a bad coach. I think he's an excellent coach, and that Pittsburgh defense got a big pick-me-up with getting him. I was hoping he would come in with the Pats and be an assistant with Bill. But, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I can't see too many assistants. I mean, eventually maybe you'll see Mayo get a chance to be like a DC somewhere for a team, like an actual call himself a DC. Steve Belichick may get a chance for like a coordinator position somewhere. Probably here after Bill retires. He's probably going to be like a special teams coordinator, or maybe they give him the DC coordinator. I mean, he stunk calling defenses, but his name's going to get him somewhere, and he was a part of some good defenses. He has a long resume, longer than Jeff Saturday coming off the couch. And I mean, if he can get a head coaching job, I think Belichick can at least get a coordinator position. But I think you're right. The only one I would.
To cut you off really quick, Ramondre is now down on the ground, buddy.
Oh my God!
Bad news for the Pats.
Jinxing them.
Big. Oh, his ankle got rolled up on. Hopefully, it's not too bad.
Yeah, just out for the game. Just be out for the game. That's all I'm hoping for. Run it through. Run it through Harris.
Harris isn't playing either.
Who's playing?
I don't know, but yeah, his ankle just got rolled up on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but all your guys that you're having a night here where everyone that needs to score against you is going down injured, dropping like. So I'm telling you, there's a big red curse here. There's a big red curse.
It's a big red curse. Yeah. Help me do some math here. 127.4 minus 113.76. Don't have to do the 76, but like what's that?
It's like 13 and change.
So I need to get to 19. That's what I got to get to. So I need I need DeAndre Hopkins to have a couple catches here from Colt McCoy, and I think I
Okay.
should be good. A nice touchdown would make me feel a lot better from
There you
DeAndre
go. Ramondre
Hopkins.
is walking. He is walking off now.
Okay.
So we'll see. I think he just got. Yeah, he's even trying to jog a little bit. I think he just got rolled up on.
Okay. The last game that we're going to talk about before we talk about the Pats cards is the Lions-Vikings game. Earlier in the season, Andy, I made a prediction, and I said week 1 of the NFL season, I said the Lions are going to be a wild card team. And then they lost 4 games in a row, and I was like, man, I guess I rated the Lions offense because I thought it was just dynamic. I thought it was one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
Man, right when I'm out, they suck me back in. They're one of those teams that they always show on the graphic in the hunt. They're in one of the in the hunt teams. They were like a game out of the playoffs. I'm back in. I'm going to stick to my prediction. The Lions, I think, are going to make the playoffs, which is crazy. I think that offense is just too good. I think if they get in shootouts, they're going to be able to, especially with everyone healthy, because I think what kind of held them back before was Swift was banged up, St. Brown was banged up, and they were kind of relying on the backup. Who's the back? Jamal Williams, pretty much only, and at the time Hawkinson, and a little bit of Chark, but even Chark was banged up. They really didn't have those weapons. Now that St. Brown's back, both running backs are back. They don't have obviously Hawkinson, but now Chark's stepping up. Jared Goff is a better quarterback than people give him credit for. I think he gets you to the dance. He's not a guy that's going to win it for you, but he's kind of like a better version of Jimmy G. He gets you to the dance and gives you a chance to win. He's just not going to win you games. He's not going to be. You can't put the ball in his hands and say like Tom Brady did for so many years. We can just let him win us a game. But I think he's still good. He brought the Rams to a Super Bowl and were a constant threat in the playoffs. They were constant threats in the playoffs. So I think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to win much past the wild card, but I think if they get to the wild card round, I think that's such a success for the Lions. And I was saying it a couple of weeks ago, everyone's going to pressure them to try to get a quarterback in the first round. I'd much rather see them draft a defensive player in the first round because that's the one thing that's holding this team back. Their defense is just bad. Yeah. So if they can get their defense figured out in the draft and in free agency, everyone buys into this Dan Campbell. I like him. I think he's emotional. Yeah. He's a player's guy. Yep. And they got this guy. I didn't even think of it. Jamison Williams. Jamison Williams catches the first touchdown on his first reception. So it's like the offense is electric. They're fine. Maybe beef up the offensive line to give Goff some more time, but retain the guys you have and beef up the defense. I think that's a playoff like a contending playoff team.
Yeah, it's funny that you just said Jamison Williams because you mentioned all those offensive players, and I've rostered Jamison Williams in multiple of my leagues here the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And I know we're going to do waiver wire pickups here later, and I know in the business they call that a tease. But I was going to go with Jamison Williams, man. I think like you listed off all those guys that have gotten healthy with Jamal Williams and Swift getting healthy and the receivers, and then you add Jamison Williams to the mix, and it's like if not for the torn ACL. Like, what did the Lions drafted him? 12th overall? Without the ACL, he's probably going top 5, 6. I mean, like that guy is a dynamic receiver. I think you add that to that mix, and it's just like you said. If they get in shootouts, I don't want to get in a track meet with that team. They're going to run up and down the field. So, I'm a little bit more bullish on them this year than you are. I think that like they'll stay in the hunt. They're gonna give teams some headaches. I'd love to see him get in the playoffs because I'm with you. I like Dan Campbell a lot. I think he's an emotional guy. I think the players love him. I just don't know if there's enough there this year. I think there's enough there for them to cause some headaches, but I'm with you for next year. I think next year there's a real opportunity with who knows what's going to happen in Green Bay with Rodgers and their roster kind of getting older. Minnesota might be the worst double-digit win team I've seen in a while. I like the Lions, man. I'm with you. I'm excited about what they've got going on. I'm a little bit more hesitant to say that they might sneak in this year than you, but I'd love to see it if they did.
Hear me out, Andy. Hear me out. Yep. They get the last 4 games. They get the Jets, which is a tough game, but if they,
home or away?
It's away.
Okay.
It's a tough game. It's a tough game, but winnable. I mean, the Pats offense beat them twice. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's. I mean, I shouldn't say beat them twice. The special teams unit beat them once.
Touchdown Pats.
Touchdown. Who? Tell me it's not Ramon.
No, it's Harris, the Kevin Harris, the rookie running back. Yeah.
I've drafted him in Dynasty. Still no points for DeAndre Hopkins, so I'm kind of getting nervous there. I need to get a couple catches out of him. Hear me out though. The Jets.
Yeah. Yep.
They go on the road to Carolina.
Okay.
Winnable game, very winnable game. They play the Bears at home.
Okay, good divisional game.
And the final game is against the Packers in Green Bay.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go bare minimum 3-1. I think 3-1 is a very doable goal for them. They go 3-1. They're 9-8.
Yep.
That's a play this year. That's right there. I mean, the Cowboys are going to be there probably. I'd say definitely as one of the wild card teams. But I mean, if you're 9-8, you're looking at trying to beat the Seahawks and the Commanders.
Yeah.
I think you're right there. I think they're right there, man. I'm right. And if they go,
I hope you're right.
See it. I think Dan Campbell deserves it too because everyone was writing that guy off too, and he's. I just like what he's doing down there, and I liked how a couple years ago where it's really easy when he comes into a losing situation where they need pieces. You know, like the Dolphins, they tanked for Tua. Like that was a big thing. He didn't believe in it. He wanted to win every game, and they didn't win every game, but they won a lot of games that they won games that they probably could have just lost. So I'm very impressed with him. So I'm rooting for them. I would be a nice preseason prediction. That was my prediction preseason. The Vikings, I was very high on them. I'm not. You're right. They're a pretty weak double-digit win team, but I still believe in this offense. I mean, if you get in a shootout in the playoff, it's another team. I don't really want to get in a shootout with Minnesota because Justin Jefferson is scary. Dalvin Cook, he didn't even have a good game, but when he gets going, he's hard to stop.
Yep.
Adam Thielen as your third option is pretty good, and then Hawkinson as your fourth option is even better. Like they got a lot of weapons on that offense, and Kirk Cousins is a perfect guy to like. He's kind of like a better version of Goff. You know, I said Goff was a better version of Jimmy. I think Kirk is an even better version of Goff, who's just like, again, I don't think he's going to win you games, but he's going to do his part and like get it to those guys to win you the game. So I still think they'll make some noise in the postseason, the Vikings, but I'm more high on the Lions. This is the Lions High podcast for this week.
Nice.
Real quick, just on the Pats cards. I mean, we just said it. They just scored a touchdown. The rookie Kevin Harris, which I drafted him in Dynasty, which is looking pretty good. I think I stuck him on my taxi squad, so he's just kind of sitting on a roster spot for the season. I put this down as the biggest game of the year for both teams. More so the Pats, because if they lose this game, this is one of the games that when Danny Football and I were looking at the end, like a couple weeks ago when we looked at for the rest of the year, this is one of those must-win games. I mean, the Cardinals stink. They're bad. Even though it's on the road, like that's a game that you got to have. These next 2 weeks are actually the games you got to have to give you a chance to even make the playoffs, get you close to that 10-win, 9-win threshold. But I mean, this is a very important game, and I think a lot of things could spiral if they lose this game. Same thing with the Cardinals. I think if the Cardinals lose this game, I said if they lose, Kingsbury could be fired this week. I think he could be out as soon as this week, if not like in the next few weeks. They just are itching to get rid of him. He hasn't panned out. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing him come to New England and be our offensive coordinator because I think he did really well as an offensive coordinator. But I think this is like a make or break franchise-wide game for the Pats and the Cardinals, and seeing how Kyler Murray just destroyed his knee in the first drive of the game, it's not looking good for the Cardinals. Looking a little better for the Pats. Hopefully Kyler's okay. But yeah, I mean, this is a very important game for both franchises.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, just to like before we move to the past, talking about the Cardinals. I mean, you talked about the Buccaneers getting older, and it's like you think about, Hopkins has been in the league for a while now. Watt has been in the league for a while. So they made some trades and made some free agent signings to bring established Pro Bowl, All Pro players in, and they haven't gotten over that hump that they needed to get over. And now you just wonder with the roster situation that they have, are things going to be looking up there? And
Yeah.
I think I'm with you. I think Kingsbury is a really, really bright young offensive mind. He obviously was drafted in New England as a quarterback. I'd love to see what he could do with Mac. Yeah, I think it just hasn't worked out. You made that move for JJ Watt, you made that move for Hopkins, and you never got over the hump. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. But I'm with you. This is a must-win game for the Pats. Next week as well, obviously, is must-win. But you just have to go on the road and take care of business here tonight. And James Conner, it looks like he just got hurt too.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
He was another big guy to bring in.
But another big name, and you have to win some of these games, against opponents that on paper you should beat. So right now we're up 7-3, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that they can keep kind of the momentum here and roll to a big victory.
Now I gotta ask before we move on to picks of the week and stuff, because we can't really talk much about this game because it's going on right now. Are you stick with Mac or move on to Bailey Zappi?
No, I'm a big time Mac guy. I think the way that he was getting booed there, whatever that was, week 3 or 4, that game that he came back and the fans were chanting for Zappi when receivers are dropping balls and offensive linemen are getting false start penalties. And look, like it or not, whether or not Mac was playing well, dude's a second-year quarterback who has a defensive coordinator calling his plays. I thought that was just like a really bad look by the fans. And I forget if I think it was McCourty came out and said like how spoiled Patriots fans have been, and couldn't be more spot on. I mean, we've had the GOAT for 20 years. Like, there's going to be growing pains. Welcome to every other NFL franchise. This is what every team goes through. We just never went through it for the last 20 years and forgot what it's like. Like, this guy's he was the best rookie quarterback in his class last year. I think Trevor Lawrence is making jumps, but regardless, I think Mac is the guy. You build around Mac. You need to get Mac some playmakers. Like, you can't nickel and dime with your receiving core anymore. The whole putting Kendrick Bourne in the doghouse because he was 5 minutes late to a meeting. Like, suspend the guy for a game, but like, that's your best catch and run guy. Get him the damn ball. No, I'm a big time. And look, I loved what Zappi did. I think it was awesome. But you don't draft a quarterback in the first round, have him get injured, and then put him in an offense with his hand behind his back because you have Matt Patricia calling plays and expect him to lose his job. I think you ride this out with Mac and you try and right things and right the ship in the off season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've talked about it this whole season with them, and I went to the Bills game, and I was literally getting in arguments with people around me because everyone was saying, "Put Zappi in. I want Zappi.
No.
I want Zappi." It's like the guy played what 2.5 games in the NFL, and they played against the Lions defense, which we just talked about is trash. And was it the who was it? It was the Browns. The Browns team that stinks. It's like, and Matt Patricia called the simplest play calls that even the defense was calling out what the plays they were going to. It was backyard football. So, like, I think Mac, the other thing that was different between Zappi and Mac, Zappi doesn't have this, he doesn't know what the NFL is. This is his first year. He's kind of starry-eyed. He's like, oh, this is how it is. Mac got to see how a real offense was run. And now he comes in with this clown that's calling plays for him. And he's like, why are we doing this? We saw it against the Bills. He's like, throw the ball. Let's throw the ball. And it's so frustrating for me to watch this because it's like two things. One, you're right. What did you think was going to happen with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge being your offensive play calling and quarterbacks coach? Do you think Mac was going to have an all-star year? Not to mention we got rid of one of our best offensive linemen, trading him down to Tampa for peanuts. It's like, it's irritating as a Patriots fan to listen to because you were ready to give up on this guy that was a Pro Bowler, brought us to the playoffs after missing it 1 year, we missed the playoffs 1 year in a rebuild, and Mac brought
Right.
us there. And it's like we're ready to be like, yeah, we're done. Let's move on to this 4th-round quarterback that has played really against 2 bad teams, did really well. It's nice to see, but he's basically played 2.5 games. And when he played the Bears, what happened? He stunk. He had a good first drive, and then he stunk the rest of the game. So I'm with you. I want to stick with Mac. I really wanted to get him Jameson Williams in the draft this year. I wanted to trade up and get him because like he has that rapport. He has. We've seen what happens when we pair like Jamar Chase and Burrow together.
Yep.
But even Hurts and AJ Brown, like get him Tua with Tyreek. Go get him a star-studded wide receiver 1. Even I'd take Hopkins. Go trade Hopkins, like a 2nd-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins or something, just to get him in the building, to get him someone to throw the ball when all is lost. He can throw it to someone and just have faith that he's going to catch the ball, because our Patriots receivers are dropping the ball. We're not getting it to. Kendrick Bourne's, like you said, has been in the doghouse for the whole season, which is kind of ridiculous for showing up late to one meeting.
Right.
But Matt Patricia's a hardo, so he's going to hold on to that this is the guy that sat Malcolm Butler in the biggest game of the year,
Right.
because we'll never know. I just think we were doomed from the start. I kind of don't. This is definitely not our year. We got to kind of regroup. Bill's not admitting that he made a mistake with Matt Patricia, and my hope is that we just stay on the Mac train, try to build around him, and hopefully we get some. We're lucky that we have 2 dynamic running backs, and we have, some solid wide receiver. Myers is out, but we need a guy number 1. I think that changes the game if we get number 1.
Right.
And to your point, they don't use Juanu too. The 2 guys that dominate when they catch the ball and run is Smith and Kendrick Bourne. It's like they don't throw them, they don't get them involved, which is kind of crazy. But big game. Hopefully, Pats are up right now, so hopefully they can keep it. And it looks like everyone's getting injured on the Cardinals. So hopefully we can get 7 more points out of DeAndre Hopkins, and Big Ray can go to the playoffs.
Well, he just made an insane one-handed catch in the end zone, but his entire body was out of bounds. So that's too bad.
What a tease.
Yeah, the Cardinals are lining up to kick a field goal right now.
Fake it. Go to DeAndre.
Yeah.
All right, 129 to 112. What do we got? That's 17 points.
17.
I need a catch. Catch for 10 yards. That's all it is. Yeah. They fear it's an ACL. Just got a notification. Kylie could have torn his ACL. But let's move on to our next segment, Picks of the Week.
Picks of the Week.
So for Picks of the Week, we pick one game from the upcoming week. I got to tell you, Danny Football's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I am riding an unbelievable heater. I am 12-1 on the season of my picks of the week.
Okay.
And I think I'm on like a 10-week winning streak right now on picking games. So the guess record is 5-2 as well. So you have a chance to keep the winning streak alive. I think the only 2 losses were a parlay by Kevin from Big Brother, and Jack Moran picked the loser. Go figure. But what is your pick of the week? I'll tell you mine after this.
I'm actually going to pick probably an outside the box game. I'm going to pick the Jaguars Cowboys game. The game's in Jacksonville. I kind of like the way Trevor Lawrence has been trending lately. Cowboys had a really dramatic win after struggling with the Texans. So I'm going to go outside the box and pick a game that's probably not many people are going to pick. I'm going to go Jags over Cowboys, I think.
I like it.
I really like what we've seen out of Trevor Lawrence here the last few weeks, and he's got some playmakers down there. And I don't know, the Cowboys, man. They're always good for 1 or 2 of those boneheaded losses at the end of the year. So I'm gonna go Jags over Cowboys.
I like it. Trevor Lawrence is heating up, which is good to see. Still think Mac's the best quarterback in that draft.
Agreed.
My pick of the week. I told you, Andy, I'm going all in on the Lions this podcast. I'm going Lions over Jets. Help the Patriots out a little bit next week. They go into New Jersey. I'm not even called the New York Jets, the New Jersey Jets. They're going to go in and beat them. I can't wait to see the Lions. This is going to start their winning streak to the end of the season. I think this is going to be the toughest game left on the schedule, but
Yeah.
I think they're going to go in and win against the Jets, and it's going to be a big momentum win. I'm running the risk a little bit. This is a toss-up game, I think, between the two teams. So it's going to be like a high-powered offense versus defense right now. So we'll see who wins out. Waiver pickup of the week. I'm going to go with, again, riding this Lions train right now. I'm going to go DJ Chark. He's rostered in 22.9% of leagues. He's had 94 plus yards in the last back-to-back games. Two touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. He's finally healthy. There's so many weapons on that Lions team, so he's kind of getting benefit of the attention going to St. Brown and Williamson, excuse me. So I think Chark is he also has big playability, so he could rip off a bunch of big plays. So I'm going DJ Chark.
Okay, yeah, and I talked about it earlier. I'm actually going with Jamison Williams.
Let's ride the Lions, Andy.
Yeah,
ride the Lions.
I know. I don't know. I don't have the stats in front of me of how many leagues he's owned in, but I think of this is going to be his third game, and you think about his first game, he barely played. This last game, he got one target and he turned it into a 41-yard touchdown. I think with the Jets having that stud rookie cornerback Sauce Gardner, they're probably going to put him on St. Brown, I would guess. Which I think they're going to roll coverage to St. Brown's direction. I think that gives Jamison a chance to maybe kind of cook as the second or third option, and I'm looking for him to have a big game this week, down there in the swamplands or the meadowlands, whatever they're calling it.
And he's a good keeper option too. Like keep him for next year. That's a really good option. Let's move on. Big week. This is a big week. Good week to have Andy on because the baseball geniuses, our pod's baseball geniuses on the clock here. MLB free agency. Couple ones to just get through before we get to the obvious Sox Bogarts debacle, which is an absolute fumble of the bag. Judge stays in New York, which I think was critical to us not landing Bogarts. I thought there was a chance he was going to go to the Padres. And if he went to the Padres, I feel like we would have had Bogarts in the bag. I think we would have re-signed him. I think when what's his name? When Turner went to the Phillies, I felt better about us signing him because that's where I thought he was going to go. And then Padres came out of nowhere. I was like, well, they have Tatis, but they still have the money. So maybe if Judge goes there, it's better. And they kind of swung and missed on a lot of big free agents this year. So, I mean, I think they just threw as much money at Bogarts as again. But Judge stays in New York, which I'm shocked. I thought that guy was going to leave. He said, I'm more about legacy this year than the money, and he went with the money. So, which, I mean, I can't blame him. Someone throws you 9 years in a huge – I forget what the money actually worked out to, but I
think it was 360, I think.
Yeah, I would go with the money as well. The Mets are building something special with that starting rotation. They're spending money galore. What's his name? Nimmo?
Brandon Nimmo, yeah.
Yeah, he played pretty well for them last year. They always have Dave Griffin waiting in the wings in the minors. So
they keep signing all these starting pitchers, though. Poor Griff is getting bumped. Give the guy a chance.
Give the guy a chance. I mean, you know what? I told Griff. I said when he came on the podcast, I said, Griff, you're going to make your money in the big leagues as a bullpen guy. You're going to come out of the bullpen and shove for an inning or two. And that long inning relief, I said, that's going to be Griff's bread and butter. He wants to be a starter, but I think the long inning relief is where it's at for him. But the Mets are just spending money. They're going to become a threat next year.
How about just to cut you off really quick? How about I saw on Twitter last night they just signed the Senga Kodai Senga from Japan or whatever. So they're saying now that the Mets payroll is so high that the tax that they're going to have to pay is higher than like 4 other teams. Actually, like the tax is like
I saw that
it's like $80 million, which is more than like 4 other teams' total payrolls.
Higher than the Athletics. I want to say the Rays,
the Marlins, and the Orioles.
The Marlins, and maybe it might have been. I don't know if the Rays were in there, but definitely the A's, Marlins, and Orioles, and maybe the Rays payrolls. It was like by a couple million too. I think the A's, it was like $30 million more.
Oh yeah.
Billy Bean in Oakland. But yeah, I mean, they don't care about spending. And I mean, I got excited. I should have known this. I've been a Sox fan long enough to once I start getting excited, I know the bottom's going to fall out. I thought Jensen was such a good signing for the Sox. I mean, that kind of shored up their bullpen. I mean, they've already made a couple acquisitions in their bullpen to kind of tighten it up, but I think Kenley put it over the top. I thought they needed an outfielder, and this guy from Matsuzaka, Yoshidara, or whatever his name is, something like that. I think he's a good outfield. We'll have to see. It's tough to tell when these like the guys from Japan come over and play. It's tough to tell who's going to be a stud and who's not. But the eye test says he's going to be a pretty good outfielder for us, and it fills a hole that we had. If we kept Bogey, I would have felt so much better about this team. But they dropped the ball, they fumble the bag, and Bogaerts gets this deal that the Red Sox wouldn't have matched in years. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would have wanted the Red Sox to match the deal. 11 years for that much money, paying a guy that's 30 years old, you're going to be paying him over $35 million till he's 41 years old.
Yeah.
That's not a deal you're going to make. But the reason I'm upset is that we should have got this deal done last spring, or even a spring before that. And honestly, if you were going to offer him the deal, which was like 6 years, I think he would have got paid
160, I think.
Something like that. It would have made like a little extra higher year per. I think it was like $37 million a year. Why not offer to him in the spring? Like, what did you think you were going to be able to short him? It's like, I don't know if it was a total underestimated of the shortstop market by Bloom, or they just didn't want him. Like, I don't know what it is. Either is it an unexcusable answer, and I'm just so disappointed. It's yet another Red Sox legend who's not going to finish his career in one uniform. It's embarrassing, to be honest with you. And John Henry should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah, I think for me, like, Bloom's catching a lot of heat, rightfully so. But for me, it boils down to John Henry. Like, the dude hasn't shown his face and done an interview in 4 years. Like, we hired Chaim Bloom, and his first move was to trade Mookie Betts, not because Chaim Bloom wanted to trade Mookie Betts, but because ownership said, you got to trade this guy. And then they spin this message that we're trading Mookie so that we can get under the tax to then in the future have the payroll flexibility to keep our core. Who's our core? Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. Right now, it looks like Rafael Devers is probably going to end up getting traded if we don't figure this out. Like, why are we? I think the thing that bothers me the most about this ownership group, and it's really hard to knock them when you think about how they revitalized Fenway Park. We've won 4 World Series championships in the last 20 years, so it's hard to get mad. But at the same time, like, what are we doing when we're constantly letting guys walk out the door, a la John Lester, a la Mookie Betts, a la Xander Bogaerts, but then we're throwing money at people like Pablo Sandoval, at Carl Crawford?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the thing that I think makes a lot of Red Sox fans mad is that they keep changing the spin zone of this, like what they're doing for this, like why they're doing certain moves. Like, I agree that Bloom, I think, took the job kind of knowing he had to trade Mookie. Like, that was part of the agreement of getting the job. You had to come in and trade Mookie Betts when his value was probably couldn't have been any lower, because he was a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to command big money, and there was only certain teams he would sign with. So there was only certain teams you could trade him to, and they're not going to give a lot of money because they're going to get him next year. I mean, a lot of pieces up for him because they're going to get him next year. And I thought, in the grand scheme of things, I think Alex Verdugo, people, like 2 years ago, they were saying Alex Verdugo is like a steal. I mean, at some points he was outperforming Mookie offensively in parts of that season last year. Not this past year, the year before when they made it to the ALCS. So, like, people were like, oh, see, that was Bloom's making big brain moves. Like, it's this and that. But so I don't put that on. I put that on ownership. I just don't like how they keep spin zoning it. Like you said, we're going to trade Mookie so we have money to retain the core, which is Bogaerts and Devers. Those are the guys you want to resign. You just let Bogaerts leave. Now Devers is probably gone. And, like, I made the argument this past couple of weeks, like, you let Bogaerts leave, that's a change in culture shift for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
This is not just one, but 2 major big name, homegrown talent players that you're letting walk out the door. Mookie was traded, but you were going to let him out the door.
Right.
These guys that should have retired with Red Sox jerseys on. And now if I'm a guy like Devers, or even I'm as young as, Cassis, Bello, eventually
Meyer.
Marcelo Meyer.
Yeah.
It's like these guys aren't going to want to pay me when I'm ready for my first big contract. So why am I going to wait around here? And, I'll play a couple years for them. Great. But like you said, I'm going to play in a high stress environment. Why am I going to do that when you're not going to pay me in the end? So just trade me now. Like, I feel like, or when it comes down to it, they're not going to, like, Bogarts took the original deal that was kind of like a steal it was a hometown discount deal.
Yep.
Devers is now going to want every dime of it because he's like, all right, you don't want to give it to Bogey, give it to me. I'll take all the money. And it's like, or I'll go play with him next year because like I'm a free agent next year. I'll go play in San Diego. I just think it's bonehead moves. It's total fumble of the bag. And I think you're right. I think falls on John Henry. We haven't seen him in 4 years. He just sold his soccer team, so everyone was like, oh, maybe he'll spend more money. But I think the real story is he's going to go buy the Washington Commanders and try to become an NFL owner, which he probably will make more money as an NFL owner. So it makes sense. But I just wish he'd do us all a favor. Like you said, he did win us 4 championships. So I wish we could just say thank you very much, but sell the team so we can move on and have someone that really cares about this team winning now and trying to bring in guys and saying, all right, well, the Mets are paying more money in cap than 4 other teams are paying for rosters. So it's like, why not? Why can't we spend a little bit? I'm not saying spend the Mets money, but I'm saying spend what we have to do to retain guys early. Like Devers should have been done last year. Bogart should have been done last year.
Right.
And like now, instead of worrying about this whole offseason, instead of worrying about Bogarts and Devers, we could have put all our attention in trying to get a couple of these starters that are going away now, like Nimmo or I'm looking at some of the other guys like Carlos Rendon or I don't know, retaining. I'm not a big Evaldi guy, but maybe retaining Evaldi, maybe getting Waka, maybe even getting Noah Syndergaard in. Like trying to add where already there. Now we just create. That's what the problem with the Red Sox have been. They just create more holes. They fill a hole, but then they basically take if they think of it as a ship and it's holes in it, we have a plug for one hole. We're taking it out and putting in another one, but that doesn't do any good because the other hole's filling with water. So it's like this team I don't think is bad. Like everyone's saying this is going to be a 50-win team. They're going to be dumpster. I still think it's a good enough team to win games, like because they did fix the bullpen. Their starters aren't terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. And I think they're going to add another starter by the end of the offseason. Between Walker or Evaldi, I think they'll bring one of those two guys back. But now you just have a big hole at shortstop, and you have a big hole in the locker room because, that's a guy that's been in here for over 10 years, and the guys lean on him. It's like a Poppy or Mookie kind of guy. They lean on him, and now who's your veteran in that locker room? I mean,
it is Raffy, and he's still only 16.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. It's like with Bogey. It's like like I talked about. Like the guy has proven over the course of 10 years that he can perform in Boston. Like the reason that Trevor Story came to Boston, he said it. Xander Bogaerts recruited me here. Like Bogaerts was the guy. Like I'm obviously not a Yankee guy, but like for me, like he should have been our Derek Jeter. And like a lot of people were saying that like he was so similar to Jeter in the fact that like he was an okay defensive shortstop, good offensive shortstop, but had all the intangibles. Like those are the guys that you don't let walk away. Like he's your heart and soul. Like you traded Mookie. Mookie was your best player. Xander wasn't your best player, but Xander was a very, very good player who was everything that your organization identified as.
Right.
And that guy's just gone now. Like he's just gone. Right. And you're getting a 4th round pick. You're going to get a 4th round pick as compensation. And dude, that could work out. Mookie Betts was a 10th or 11th rounder. Like it could work out, but like that's what we got back for our generational shortstop who came up and won a World Series as a 20-year-old kid. Like it just, I don't know. It's a frustrating time to be a Red Sox fan, like you said. Like, we don't know what direction they're going in, but you know what? Like, we're still going to show up and pay $19 for a Bud Light, and we're still going to sing Sweet Caroline, and they're going to be printing money, and the owners are
Yeah.
going to be perfectly fine. Like, John Henry, if he truly cared about, and I get it, like, you're not going to make every roster move based on what the fans want. That's not sustainable. But like, you have a guy that is beloved by the fan base. Like, this is the type of guy you lock up.
I can't blame them for not offering 11 years, 300 and whatever, $80 million. I can't
Yeah,
blame them for not offering that and not willing to match that, because it's crazy. I'm not willing to give Xander Bogaerts, as much as I love him, 11 years, $380 million
agreed,
dollars, but I'm willing
agreed.
to give him 7 to 6 years for 100 and 100 whatever it was, they 160 whatever they offered him last spring. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like they offered him 4 years, $90 million dollars. That's
Yep.
a slap in the face to your generational player and
Right.
your franchise, like your face of your franchise. Like Cora said, he doesn't have the seat, but he's the captain of this team.
Right.
And it's like
I mean,
you're
I
just letting him walk out the door.
I mean, I think about it too. Like, you think about, we talk about they've won 4 World Series. You know, you win that first one in '04, and then in '07, you still had that nucleus of Poppy, who was there in '04, Manny, who was there in '04, Tech, who was there in '04, all those guys,
Joe,
Schilling. And
yeah,
then and then when you win it in 13, you still had Poppy, you had Pedroia, you had guys that had been there in '07. When you
mm-hmm,
win it in 18, even though he was hurt, you had Pedroia, you had Bogarts, who was a young kid in 13. There's
mm-hmm,
no one left here that's won a World Series outside of Sale, Barnes, and Devers. Like
right,
your history, like that those 18 to 20 years that we've been winning World Series, it's all gone now. Like, Xander
right,
should have been like that next link to like the next World Series championship to pass that mantle on.
right.
Like
It's like the Poppy.
all yeah, all that history is now, like, there's no one left that's connected to it. Like, that the chain has been broken in my mind.
Yeah, it's not a good time to be a Red Sox fan, because I really don't see where they're going to go. And I said going into the offseason, I did give them, the Red Sox, this leash to not sign
Yeah.
Xander Bogaerts. I said, if they don't sign Xander Bogaerts, I won't be happy about it, but I will be able to accept it if they sign a big name free agent like Judge or Correa. If they went out tomorrow and said, we're signing Carlos Correa to like a 7 year, I don't think they're going to do it, because I think he's going to require like 10 years, probably the same thing as Bogey. But if they, and he's a year younger, so I don't think they're going to do it. But if he said, "Hey, we're signing Correa to like a 8 year, 9 year deal, big money," I could at least say, "All right, we're letting Bogarts walk for an equal to maybe a better player. He's not going to be the same in the locker room, like what he means to the
Right.
locker room, but Correa can fill that role as your star shortstop, just
Yes.
like, and he fills the hole. Like Judge would have filled the hole. You were missing that home run threat in the lineup last year because you let all your home run guys go,
Mm-hmm.
and he fills the outfield hole. So he fills 2 holes. If you sign Judge, then it fills 2 holes. And it hurts the Yankees, which is an even bigger thing.
Right.
So if they come out tomorrow and say, hey, we're signing uh, Correa, I could at least say, you know what? I love Bogey, but we got this generational player. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
I can kind of see the trend. That's not going to happen.
Right.
There's rumors that Dansby Swanson we're still on Dansby Swanson, but I think he's going to go to the Dodgers, because they just
Yeah.
lost Trey Turner, and Swanson and Freeman have a good connection. So
Right.
I think they're gonna link up in L.A.
I also look at it like this. Like, I'm really high on Marcelo Meyer. I think he's going to be the guy. My idea with signing Bogey was Bogey stays at shortstop for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
And then in 2 to 3 years, when Marcelo is ready, Marcelo is your shortstop, and Bogey slides to third, and Devers becomes your DH. I don't know if I want to do that with Carlos Correa. Like,
Yeah.
if that's the case, like, just find a stopgap. Go out and trade for Willie Adames from the Brewers, who are
Yeah.
dumping salary. That guy's got 2 years left on his deal. Perfect. Marcelo's ready in 3, hopefully. I mean, obviously, prospects are never a sure thing, but like,
Yeah.
I think like that's the move now. Like, now, if I was going to sign one of those two shortstops that are out there, it would be Correa. I'm out on Swanson. I love Swanson as a player, but I think
Yeah.
organizationally, like, that doesn't make the most sense.
Right.
But for me, it's like, I would have been okay with giving Bogey that, like you said, 7, 8 year deal, and in 2 to 3 years, he becomes your third baseman, and Devers becomes your DH. But
Yeah.
now it's just like, I think now we're getting to that point where I think you're going to see what people call Bloom doing his bargain shopping now. I think they're going to be looking for stopgaps. I think they're going to be looking for guys on shorter deals, unless it's Rodon. There's just no one out there that you're going to hand a big deal out to now at this point in free
It's
agency.
all
There's
going
no
to
one
be
left.
1-2 years. Yeah.
You know,
It's
so
all it's all old
yeah.
guys or that are really good, but it's all guys that are like
Yeah.
at the end of their career.
Right, they have
looking
question
for
marks.
1 year. Yeah.
Question marks. So I think they, this offseason, with the amount of financial flexibility that they appear to have had, they dropped the ball in my mind.
They wasted it. Guys I'd like them to sign right now that are kind of on the tape that I think are able, like realistic to sign is number 1, Rendon.
Yep.
JD would probably be 2. One of the two of Evaldi and Walker. They'll probably go with Evaldi because they know him more.
Yep.
3, and then Mancini and Noah would be my chances I'd take on them. I think if they got them, I think you're able to salvage this offseason a little bit.
Right.
They still got to figure out the shortstop problem, but I think those guys kind of elevate around the shortstop, and then you can kind of struggle bust the shortstop position for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, like, I'm a big Syndergaard fan, but I think like with his history of injuries, there's already those question marks with like a Chris Sale who can't seem to stay healthy, James Paxton coming off injury. I also like Evaldi and like to bring him back because I think when he's been here and he's been healthy, he's been really good. But again, it's a health question mark. Like, how many times that guy in his career made 30 starts? It's only been once or twice. So, I think like I've always been a big Noah Syndergaard fan. I just, what are you going to get? Are you going to get? I don't think you're going to get that fringe Cy Young guy that we saw, when he was at his peak with the Mets. I think there's a high ceiling there, but I think there's also a really, really low floor where he could, really struggle. So for me, I'm pushing my chips in on Carlos Rodon right now. Like, I know that the numbers tell me that they have, a lot of starting pitching, but like, go get a guy. And then if Chris Sale turns back into close to what Chris Sale used to be, then great. You have 2 dudes at the top of your rotation. Like, go get Carlos Rodon. Like, that's what you have to do in my mind to salvage the offseason. And that's not really talking about the trade market. Who knows what's out there for trades? I mean, the Braves just got Sean Murphy from the A's today, so that was a big name, catcher that was on the board. I mean, maybe we're able to swing a deal for a controllable starting pitcher. I don't know. I'm looking for a guy that I know can go out there and take the ball every 5 days. And there's injury risk with every pitcher, but give me a guy that traditionally has stayed healthy.
Yeah, I'm looking at our starting rotation now, and I know they said they want to put Garrett Whitlock in the starting rotation, which I just think is a mistake. I'm not really that high on that move. I'd much rather see him out of the pen be the 8th inning guy because I just think he's so dominant in that role. But right now, your starting pitchers are Chris Sale, Nick Pivetta, Paxton, Bello, Cutter Crawford, and Joely Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel comfortable if Sale's healthy and him. But that's a big if. He hasn't started more than probably 2 games in the last 4 years. Nick Pavetta's like a solid 5 starter. I'm hoping Brian Bello takes a step forward. But if we're putting our faith in James Paxton, Cutter Crawford, Chris Sale, I would love to think Chris Sale is healthy, but I think you're 100% right. That's why I put Rendon. Is it Rendon or
Rodon?
Rodon.
Yep.
I would love them to sign Rendon because I think it gives you a little more flexibility. Like if you move Cutter Crawford even to Worcester, I don't think that's a big deal for your starting rotation. I mean, even if you move him and Paxton to the bullpen, even if you move Whitlock I think they should sign more starters to get Whitlock back in the pen.
Yeah.
I just think it's a good idea, and I mean you got to assume Chris Sale's going to miss some time at some point this year. Right. I would like them to sign 2 starters. I like them to sign Rendon and then take a chance on a guy like Evaldi, Syndergaard, or maybe even Walker. I'm high on Walker. I liked what I saw last year when he was healthy. I thought he was our best starter at points in the year. But then if you do that, if you sign 2 of those guys and you go and say you move, you go into a rotation with Chris Sale, Pivetta, Bello, Rendon, and maybe even Syndergaard or Evaldi as your 5. I mean, that's a solid rotation. Then you have Paxton
Yeah.
as a backup guy to slide in. You have Whitlock to do spot starts. You have, you have in your bullpen, you have Whitlock. You can probably move Paxton in the bullpen as a long relief guy. I wouldn't mind seeing that. And then you can get Tanner. You have Tanner Houck, Matt Barnes, Kenley Johnson. Like you have a solid deep bullpen. Chris Martin. Like you have a deep bullpen, and I think for the first time in years, I think this team is going to be carried by their pitching because it's been carried by their offense for the last probably 5 to 6 years, and it'll be fun to see them, actually have a starting rotation that is competitive. Another guy I kind of like. I don't think they'll sign him, but he's kind of one of those guys that's getting to. It'll be like a late, like the second wave or third wave of free agent is Michael Brantley from the Astros. I kind of like him because he brings power bat to your lineup, which is something you're struggling with, especially if you don't sign JD or a guy like Trey Mancini. Like he can kind of fill in that role as the DH guy or outfielder that will bring some power. So I wouldn't mind.
He's a really, really good professional hitter too. I feel like he would help out with, Casas. He would probably help Verdugo. The guy's been a high level, very good hitter for his entire career. It's spanned a long time. So yeah, that'd be a great signing.
But yeah, I mean, definitely disappointed to see Bogarts leave. I mean, that's another guy that I don't know if he'll be in the. Do you think he makes the Hall of Fame as of? I don't think so. As much as I love him, but
I don't think so either. Unless all of a sudden he has like a crazy jump in power numbers. It's just so hard to get to 3,000 hits nowadays, and even that's not a shoe-in. He's probably never going to win a Gold Glove. I mean, yeah, he's won 2 World Series, but I just don't think the numbers will be there in the end. Great player, obviously. I mean, he's got 5 Silver Sluggers to this point in his career and multiple All-Star bids. Probably not a Hall of Famer though. But it's just disappointing to see him in a different uniform now.
Yeah, definitely. Now we have 2 guys that I guess you have to add it to the curse. We've seen multiple franchise play Brady, Mookie, Bogarts. I mean, I think Poppy might have been already retired, but we're just seeing more and more guys. Andy Theriault out of the Brockton Rocks, just franchise players out during this Big Red Zone run.
Yep. There's a Wheaties box curse, a Madden box curse, and the Big Red Zone curse.
It's definitely. I'm glad. I guess I'm glad that we're ending this so we can end this curse. We can get Bogey back to Boston, Mookie back to Boston, Andy back to Brockton.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our final segment of the night, the People's Topic.
It's the People's Topic, baby! People's Topic.
So for the People's Topic, you can write in our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to talk about. This week we have Ed. He says Pat's taking back Josh McDaniels, and hopefully he stays with the Pats. I'd love the move. I think I think they need to bring in. Obviously, they need to bring in someone beside Patricia and Judge. I want to fire both of them, but that's never going to happen. But if they can bring in a guy like Josh or Kingsbury, who's probably going to get fired. Who actually Kingsbury, like you said, he has experience with the organization, former player. I wouldn't mind seeing those guys come to back to New England and make a name for themselves. Kind of like Dan Quinn has in the Cowboys. Like he's kind of making a name for himself as a coordinator. I'd like to see them come back and kind of stay in New England for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so torn. Like, I think yes, because Josh has been here multiple times and had success. There's also part of me that's like, I'd actually like us to go outside of the organization and bring in some young, innovative coordinator who's never done things the Patriot way. But yeah, I mean, if McDaniels wound up back here as the OC again and was back to developing Mac, I'd welcome it with open arms. I think we've seen this year that you need an offensive coordinator who knows how to put his quarterback in position to be successful.
Right, and also Mac had a good experience with him.
Yeah.
Vicky writes, "Why are the Pats so stressful?" I said actually, if you go back to I think it was the first time we played the Jets. October 31st, Halloween, the Halloween episode. Dave Griffin, in fact, I think Dave Griffin was on that episode. I said any win that the Patriots get, any game really, but any win the Patriots get is going to be ugly, stressful, and going to be ugly, doubly ugly. It's just going to be defensive, like find a way to scratch points against on the scoreboard. So, yep, that's just how it's going to be. Hopefully, you just win a couple of these.
Yep, Vicky, I would say welcome to life as an NFL fan. I said it earlier, like, but this is what the NFL is. Like, I mean, I'm old enough to have been a Pats fan before Brady, and they weren't very good. Like, yeah, dude, I have grays in my beard. But it's just like this is what every other NFL team goes through.
Right.
Every year, there's one Super Bowl champion, but like, there's teams that are good. And look at the Rams this year. I mean, yeah, there's been injuries, but they're 4-7 or whatever. You know, it's like
bad.
What the Patriots did was absolutely unprecedented. So, like, we did take for granted how 9 times out of 10 they were just going to roll into a game and just win, whether or not they were the favorite, the underdog. Like, they were just more prepared. And yeah, it is stressful, but this is this is life as an NFL fan. I think for all the other franchises the last 20 years.
This was the other thing that I just made me think of it. It drives me nuts with the Mac Zappy debate. I can't believe people were willing to give another year of Cam Newton, but they're not willing to go to a year 2 of Mac Jones. I just can't believe it. I just it's so unbelievable, man. That just crossed my mind. And so I said let Cam start the season, then go to Mac midway through the year, and I just can't believe that people are ready to give up on Mac less than a year from him taking us to the playoffs. This one comes from Paige. She got 2. Is Tom Brady done after the season? I think we both said no. I think he's going to come back for another year. Where he goes, I don't know, but I think he's going for another year. And she also said, if you could only watch one sport for the rest of your life, which would it be?
It's baseball for me.
Yeah. TV-wise, I think I'd want to watch either football or basketball. Basketball is just so I just love watching basketball. In person, though, I gotta tell you, this may be a hot top, like what's it called, a hot take. I think I'd rather go to a baseball game than a football game.
Okay. I was gonna say, don't sleep on going to a hockey game live and in person.
I've never been to a hockey game, so I can't
Hockey
speak
game. Hockey game in person is legit, dude. It's a lot of fun. Get Jack Moran to stop selling his tickets and donate one
to the Big Red Zone.
Come on, Jack.
Jack Moran, this is to you. Yeah. Hook up your boy to the Big Red Zone.
Hook up Big Red. The guy's never seen a hockey game live and in person. Hook a brother up.
Now that you mentioned that, Danny Football and I said on the first episode of this season that we were going on a retirement tour. We were supposed to get our gifts from around the league, and we haven't got squat. You know what, Jack Moran? Hook a brother up for the last season as retirement gift. We'll have a retirement party at a Bruins game. I've never been to a Bruins game.
These games are a lot of fun.
I went to one BU game, and it was pretty awesome. Someone got thrown through the glass. It was pretty sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think don't sleep. I think baseball games are more fun. I went to the Pats game, and it was fun, but I think I'd rather go to a Red Sox
NFL games, dude. We're so spoiled, like watching it now on TV. Like you have the yellow line, you know where the first. Like I remember the first NFL game I went to. I was like, wait, how do I know where the first down is? Like you just you take for granted how great it is to watch on TV. Like, and it's fun, but like it's nowhere near as fun at the stadium as it is for hockey or baseball or whatever the game may be. So, but yeah, if I had to pick one, give me baseball.
And final question comes from our boy, number 1 fan, Big Red Zone's number 1 fan, Joseph_Celia. Still, he was a guest on. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that.
Like, yeah. He writes. He always comes with bangers of questions too. This is a good one, and we missed him last week. He didn't have one last week, so I was very disappointed. This week he writes, next year, the Patriots question. Next year, would you rather have Belichick and Patricia, or Flores and Bill O'Brien? So I think get rid of Belichick and bring in Brian Flores and bring in BO as the or OB. I think BO is a bad thing nickname for him. OB as the OC, or stay with Belichick but have Matt Patricia.
I wonder if that means Matt Patricia can be reassigned to another position, like running to get coffee for a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
If the question means in their current positions, Man, I love Bill. If it meant I was saddled with another year of Matty P, I would say, Billy, thanks for everything. Here's another yacht on the house. Hit the bricks. Like I would rather not have Bill if that meant I had to watch Matt Patricia call offense again.
Yeah.
But if they could reassign him to a different position where he's like, the fourth string punter coordinator, then like, yeah, sure, keep Matty P. But
this is
it's just such an uninspiring offense.
Yeah, this is my prediction. What's going to happen? I think they're going to reassign Matt Patricia to like contracts and being a special like assistant to the GM, and he's going to have nothing to do with football operations, especially the offense. I'd rather Brian Flores come in as the OC than have another year as of Matt Patricia. I wouldn't mind that defensive mind being a offensive coordinator because I think he just knows the game too well. I was pushing for them to sign Billy O as the offensive coordinator this offseason, but I just didn't see him leaving college football. Like I feel like that's just such a good gig for him. But I think I'd have to agree with you, man. As much as Bill has been so important to us, I don't know. I think I'd say see ya. We might get in both those two guys. But thank you for writing into our People's Topic. Remember, you can write in each week on our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Give us a follow. You can also follow us on TikTok at Big Red Zone. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the like button on this video, as well as all our other videos. Also hit the notifications bell so you know when our episodes come out. Spotify, and as Andy promoted earlier, Apple Podcasts, big Apple Podcast guy. My thanks to our guest, Andy. Great as always having you back on the pod. Hopefully maybe we can get you back on before the end of the before we hang him up, or a nice end of the season episode as well.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. It's been fun hopping on here again with you, and always good to talk sports and mix it up here. So would love to get on one more time to say goodbye to the boys.
It's great having you on. And again, thanks for everyone listening, and have a great week, everyone.